Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Lisa Radosta and Love is in the Air today at Dog Nerds. We are taking a journey into dog emotions. As a board certified veterinary behaviorist, I am frequently asked questions like, does my dog love me? How do I know if my dog is happy? Does my dog have the same emotions I do of fear or stress or depression or happiness or joy? Well, we're going to get the answers to those questions and more on our journey into dog love. Any dog pet parent can tell you that their dogs feel emotion. But today we're examining this topic on the side of science. What do scientists have to say? This is Charles Darwin. He was a naturalist, biologist, and a geologist in the 1880s. He's the father of the theory of evolution. He said that animals have the same capacity for emotions that we do, whether it be pleasure or pain or stress or fear or joyfulness. Well, I certainly agree with him, but today we're examining emotion from a scientific perspective. First, we're going to look at pleasure, happiness, and joy. We can measure these emotions through dog body language, which is scientifically proven, and we can also look at other measures like functional MRI scans and neurochemical measures. Let's get started. One of the ways that you can understand dog emotions is to look at specific parts of the body and the signals that the dogs are displaying. This has been well studied in science, and what is so cool is that the facial expressions of people, chimpanzees, cats, and dogs are really similar, and they have similar meanings. Have you ever noticed that the play face that a dog exhibits when playing is similar to the laughing face of a child? Pretty cool, right? There's a whole area of study looking at specific facial expressions and what they mean. You can learn more about the science of body language in dogs and how it's similar to your own body language at animalfacs.com. A dog who is relaxed and happy has a soft face. The mouth might hang open just a little bit, but even if it's closed, the face is not tense. The pupils, which is the black part of the eye, are soft and not too big. The ears aren't too far forward and they're not too far back. They're kind of hanging in a relaxed way. So you want to also be looking at your dog's tail. A tail that is at the back or slightly higher is usually a happy tail. A tail that's wagging so much that it's hitting the body on either side and the whole body moves, again, is going to be a happy tail. Now, you always want to interpret the tail with a little bit of caution because your dog's breed is going to affect their tail. A Chow Chow tail is over the back. A German Shepherd tail is hanging slightly down. So you want to look at your dog's normal carriage and then look at where the tail is in relation to that. A happy tail is not tucked and a happy tail is not tightly curled. And even a Chow Chow or a Shih Tzu or one of those breeds with a curled tail, you'll see when he's stressed, it is really tightly curled. So relaxed and soft. That is a happy dog. We know what a happy dog looks like, at least on the surface, because there's a lot more to know than what I've taught you so far. And you can find out a lot more at our website, therealdognerds.com. But we have an idea, right? Next, let's take a look at what scientists have done to investigate dog emotions. There is this cool machine called an fMRI. That stands for Functional Magnetic Resonance Imaging Machine. It measures small changes in the blood flow to different areas of the brain. And what's so cool about that is when those areas are getting more blood flow, they are activated. In 2013, a group of researchers in Japan published evidence that they could tell what people were dreaming about based on the parts of the brain that were lighting up. They could tell that person when they woke up if they were dreaming about a coffee mug or a monster or their dog. Since that time, scientists have shown that emotional states, so how you are feeling inside, can be assessed via this machine with great accuracy. Feeling sad? Stick your head in the machine. Certain parts of your brain will light up because they're getting more blood flow. That's pretty crazy. Then in 2015, this guy, Dr. Gregory Burns, published groundbreaking work showing that dogs' brains work just like ours. There's this place in the brain called the caudate nucleus. You can see with the purple arrows pointing to it. It's really not that big, but it's super powerful. And in that area of the brain, there's a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is your reward neurotransmitter, motivation, pleasure, energy that is released when you're expecting something wonderful to happen. And dogs are no different. So Dr. Burns and his team set out to see if the caudate nucleus lit up like a human caudate nucleus when they exposed dogs to different smells that should elicit different emotional states if dogs have emotions, right? So these are our superstar volunteers. How could you possibly train a dog to get into a functional MRI? Remember that in order for this to work, the dog cannot be sedated. No shot collars, pinch collars, or choke collars used around here. These dogs were trained with positive reinforcement to get into this fMRI and lie still during the entire process. I mean, people have to be medicated for this, so that's really cool. They exposed the dogs while they were in the fMRI to 5 scents: familiar human, unfamiliar human, themselves, so their own scent, unfamiliar dog, and familiar dog. Guess what lit up the caudate nucleus the most? People. A familiar person was the most likely smell to make that pleasure center, the motivation center, the reward center, the love center light up. Well, so what does that mean to us? Dogs love their people. Dogs express themselves through body language that is very similar to ours. Dogs love their people, and scientists have proven that. Dogs show different emotions when they smell different things. All right, that's really cool. But how do dogs respond when they hear other happy dogs? So when I hear a person laughing, I want to laugh too, right? I automatically actually want to laugh without any thought whatsoever. Are dogs the same? Patricia Simonet set out to find out what happens when you expose a dog to another dog's laughter. Have you never heard a dog laugh? Let's take a listen. Doesn't sound like much, does it? Simonet's group exposed adults and puppies to growling and to dog laughter. When the dogs heard the growling, they most often either urinated, it's very sad, right? A sign of fear, okay? Or they moved away from the sound. When dogs were exposed to dog laughter, and when puppies were exposed to dog laughter, what did they do? They play bowed. They wanted to play too. They grabbed a toy, they whined, they barked. They knew what the other dog was saying. They recognized the sound of another dog laughing, and it changed their emotional state. Wow. Have you ever heard of oxytocin? It's the love hormone. When you hug your child or when you hug your dog, your body releases oxytocin. But are dogs the same as us? Guess what? They are. When your dog is petted, presuming that he likes petting, and we'll cover that a little later, but when he's petted, his oxytocin goes up too. Dogs have brains like ours that function like ours. They have similar neurotransmitters to ours. There's no doubt they can have joy and love and feel those emotions. But what about negative emotions? What about emotions like fear or anxiety or stress? Let's take a look at those. Unfortunately, dogs experience negative emotions too, just like we do. Fearful or stressed body language is pretty easy to spot. Tail down or tail tucked. ears all the way back, body crouched, hiding. Your dog might be apathetic, like disconnected from the environment or disengaged. We also know that dogs grieve. There's no science to prove that, I'll let you know. However, I have seen it in my own practice. I had a patient once, and I've had many patients like this, but I had a patient once whose parent required long-term care in the house, and there was a certain room where that happened. And for a year after that parent died, every time the dog walked by that room, she stopped and she looked in. You're trying to tell me she's not grieving? That doesn't make sense. We see some dogs grieve for other dogs in the household. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It really depends on the connection between the dogs and what kind of relationship they had. Was it one that they slept together, one that they followed one another? Sometimes a dog can feel lost. If your dog is grieving, by the way, try to keep the structure and the schedule about the same, and usually in about 2 months, your dog will feel better. Pet parents often ask me how they will know if their dog loves them. And really often, there's one parent in the household who is loved more than the other parent. One of the ways you'll know how your dog feels about you is how he greets you. We should have that happy body language, wiggly, ears kind of in the middle or a little bit back, tail wagging from side to side, really big. If you come into the yard and your dog is in the yard, he should run to you and he should look happy. So we're looking for the dog to greet you in a happy way. That is one way to assess that bond you have with your dog. Keep in mind, if your dog is older, arthritic, going blind, losing his hearing, he's not going to respond to you that way. He can't even hear you come in the door, for God's sake, okay? So if you go to his bed and you wake him up and you call his name and you clap your hands and he wakes up and his tail starts thumping, all right, then you have that greeting you're looking for. But you can't expect him to be the way he was when he was younger. Your dog should not approach you at all with his tail down. He should not approach you with a lowered body posture or the head held low or crawling toward you. Those kinds of body postures are ones of fear. Now keep in mind, you might not be the scary thing. It might be that you have to do a scary thing to him. It might be that you are associated with a scary thing. A lot of dogs are afraid, let's say, of the ding on your cell phone when you get a text. If you get a lot of texts, like some of us do, then you're really scary when you have that phone in your hand. So it might not be you. It might be something that you're doing. Let's consider the difference between independence and love. So following you around the house like a Velcro dog is not love, y'all. That is not love. If you had a friend that follows you around the house and wouldn't even let you go to the bathroom by yourself, would you say that she's your friend or that she's a little loony, right? Okay. Dogs that follow you around the house are too attached to you. And independence is a gift that you can give your dog so your dog can be joyful and happy. So we're looking for your dog to be comfy, sleeping in another room on a dog bed. It's not that he doesn't want to be with you. We don't want him hiding in the back of the house in a closet all day. But we want him to be able to separate from you naturally and go on his own bed. That is one of the ways you will assess your dog's comfort and happiness, is by looking at, is he comfortable being separated from you? Even if you have a great bond with your dog, can't it be even better? Everybody wants their dog to love them, and some of us want our dogs to love us even more. So how can you do that? Well, number one, you can learn what your dog likes and doesn't like. So one of the ways to do that is to do a consent test. A consent test is just like you are probably expecting it is. If someone came to me and wanted to hug me, I would expect them to ask if I was okay with that. And I would want to give consent. So a consent test is where you pet your dog only after he's given consent. So for some dogs that are super friendly and show no aggression, no growling, snarling, biting, lunging, barking, or baring teeth, no aggression, you could probably offer a hand or even go to pet them. And when you've petted a couple times, 1, 2, 3, then pull your hand away. If your dog likes that or the dog likes that, they will ask for more. If they don't like it, then they won't. I think that you will be surprised at how often your dog doesn't want that prolonged petting. And we see a lot of aggression after petting because the person assumes that because the dog wanted to be petted once, they want to be petted for 5 minutes or petted while they're sleeping. Not so. So you can find out more about consent tests at the website that you see on your screen below. If your dog has aggression, you should be doing consent tests. However, you need to be working with a qualified positive reinforcement dog behavior professional to figure out how to do that with your dog. Some of us are the bad guys in our household. I do the veterinary visits, obviously, I'm a veterinarian. I do the eye drops, I do the pre-medications for vet visits, I do the ear meds, I do the baths, I do the nail trims, everything. And if you are that person, then you probably need a little bit of relationship boosting with you and your dog. Here's some things you can do to get that relationship back to where you'd like it to be. Try playing with your dog, even if the other people in the house play with him too. Try getting out there and tossing the ball or playing tug with him. Try giving him food toys. So food toys can be snuffle mats, they can be Kong toys. There's lots of different toys you can use, but try being the person that gives him those things. Try taking him to a class. It doesn't have to be a high pressure dog class. It can be low pressure, like nose work. Dogs love nose work, and there's no homework required, which is my favorite kind of class. Don't be a negative Nelly. Don't use a shock collar, a pinch collar, or a choke collar on your dog. Don't spend your time yelling at your dog. If your dog is misbehaving, get with a qualified behavior professional. Go to our website, sign up for one of our courses so that you can learn how to focus on the positive and permanently change your dog's behavior instead of yelling at him all the time. Nobody wants to be with somebody who's negative. Try some differential reinforcement. If your partner is the one that your dog loves, give your partner the plain old dog treats, and you take the super valuable treats like low-fat hot dogs or chicken or low-fat cheese. Make sure, of course, that you're staying within your dog's dietary restrictions that your vet has set down. However, you can carry better food than the person in your house that your dog loves, even if your dog is on a special diet or if he is on a weight loss program from your veterinarian. Make sure that when you have to do those bad things, like I have to do at my house, that you make them fun. And often pet parents will say to me, "Well, I don't have to give a treat to my dog when I trim his nails because he's good for that." Well, that's lovely, but if you want to have a strong relationship, you need to keep that reinforcement going. So even if your dog is good for his eye drops, for example, make sure that you reinforce him. Come to the area where you're going to give him his eye drops, set up the treats, hand him a treat, put an eye drop in, hand him another treat, and then repeat for the other eye. That way it stays fun. Finally, vet visits. You can make vet visits fun as well. Talk to your vet about bringing food to the veterinarian's office, staying with your pet, and feeding him throughout the exam so that it can be a fun experience for him. I want to talk to you a little bit about petting your dog. We talked about the consent test. I think it's really common for us to push ourselves on our dogs. I'm guilty of it. I like to grab my dog and hug him and smush him and kiss the top of his head. He doesn't like it that much, and your dog may not like it. And if your dog doesn't like it and you do it, your dog's not going to think you're the fun one, and you're not going to increase your dog love. I hope today you have learned something about dog emotions. You have learned about how to improve your relationship with your dog, and if it's great, how to make it even better. And hope you have learned some techniques to understand your dog better all the way around.